The Magic Biscuits. Cathy and John were skipping home through the woods when they saw a little paper bag lying by a tree. "Look," said Cathy, stopping. "There's a bag, and it looks as if it's full of something." "Perhaps someone's dropped it," said John. "Let's see what's inside," said Cathy. So the children ran to the bag, and Cathy picked it up. "Oh," she said, "it's full of biscuits. Look, John." "They're letter biscuits," said John. And so they were. Each little biscuit was made like a letter. There were A's and B's and C's. They were really most exciting little biscuits. "Oh, aren't they lovely?" said Cathy. "I wonder who they belong to." "We'd better take them along with us and see if we can find anyone looking for them," said John. So Cathy carried the bag. But how she peeped and peeped into it, and how she longed to nibble some of those dear little biscuits. "Oh, I'm so hungry, John," she said. "Do you suppose I might eat just one biscuit?" "Certainly not," said John. "They don't belong to us, Cathy. You know Mother wouldn't like us to do a thing like that." "But no one would know if I ate one or two," said Cathy. "You would know yourself," said John. "It's not nice to know you've done something mean." "Well, I don't care," said Cathy. "I'm just going to eat some. Look, here's a C for Cathy." She took out a letter C and popped it into her mouth. She crunched it up. It was delicious. "I think you're naughty," said John. Cathy took no notice. She put her hand into the bag again. "I shall eat my name," she said. "I've eaten the letter C. Now I want A." She found an A and ate that too. Really, the biscuits were the very nicest she had ever tasted. John longed to have one too, but he wouldn't. It was bad enough having a sister who took what wasn't hers. "Now I want the letter T," said Cathy, and she hunted about for a T. "I've had a C and an A. T comes next in my name." She found a letter T and put it into her mouth. She crunched it up and swallowed it. John walked on crossly. "Meow," suddenly came a voice. "Meow." John looked round in amazement. Where was the cat? He soon saw it, a big golden-furred cat that ran after him and mewed. "Cathy, look at this cat," called John, looking for his sister. But Cathy had disappeared. She just simply wasn't there. Wherever could she have gone? The bag of biscuits lay on the ground, but Cathy was quite gone. "Meow, meow, meow," said the golden cat, and purred and rubbed herself against John's legs. John bent down to stroke her and looked into the cat's eyes. They were as blue as his sister Cathy's. "Oh dear, oh dear," said John in a fright. "Have you turned into a cat, Cathy?" "Meow, meow," said the cat sadly. John stared at her. She had fur as golden as Cathy's hair and eyes as blue as Cathy's. Cathy had certainly changed into a cat. But why? "It must be those biscuits," groaned poor John. "They must be magic ones. But why should they turn Cathy into a cat?" He soon knew. Cathy had wanted to eat her name in the biscuits, and she had got as far as C-A-T, and the magic in the biscuits had worked, and turned her into what C-A-T spelt. Cat! Whatever was John to do? "Oh, why did I let Cathy eat those biscuits?" said John. "I knew it was wrong. Cathy, Cathy, you're a lovely golden cat now, but I want you to be my sister, not a cat." The little boy picked up the bag of biscuits and looked all round. If only he could find out who they belonged to. Perhaps the owner would help him and turn Cathy back to her right shape again. He walked on between the trees, and at last came to a small yellow cottage that he was sure he had never seen before. With the cat at his heels, he walked up the path and knocked at the door. "Come in," called a voice. John opened the door and looked inside. He saw a bent old gnome there, stirring something in a big black pot over the fire. "Good morning," said John. "Morning," said the gnome, turning round and blinking at John. "What do you want? Are you selling anything?" "No," said John. "I just wondered if you knew who these biscuits belong to." "Of course I don't," said the gnome, who didn't seem to be in a very good temper. "I like the look of that cat of yours, though. A beautiful creature she is. I'll buy her from you." "Oh, no," said John, alarmed. "You can't have her. She belongs to me." "Here's a piece of gold for her," said the gnome, and pushed a large piece of gold into John's hand. "Go on your way now. The cat's mine." And to John's horror, the gnome pushed him out of his cottage and slammed the door in his face. The cat was left behind in the house. Poor Cathy! "Meow, meow," she cried, and tried to get out. But the door and the window were both shut. John banged at the door, but it was locked. He couldn't think what to do. He still had the bag of biscuits in his hand. If only he could find the owner and get some help. The little boy wandered off again, hoping he would meet someone. And at last he did. He met an old woman, bent double under a pile of sticks which she was taking home for firewood. She had a red face and twinkling eyes, and she looked so kind that John ran to ask her for help. "Do you know anyone who's dropped a bag of biscuits?" he asked. The old woman shook her head. "Could you help me with this bundle of wood?" she said. "You look a strong boy. I'll carry the biscuits for you." So John took the wood from her and walked beside her until they came to a tiny house under a tree. So tiny that John really wondered if there could be room inside to live. The old woman took the wood and thanked John. "Why do you look so miserable?" she asked. "You look as if you've lost some biscuits, not found some." "I think they must be magic biscuits," said John, and he showed her them. "They've turned my sister into a cat." "Stars and moon," said the old dame in surprise. "Did they really? Let me have a look at these wonderful biscuits. Oh, yes, they're magic, all right. I can tell by the smell of them. You see, my sister was eating her name in the letters. Her name's Cathy, and she got as far as C-A-T, and she turned into a big golden cat," said John. "I don't know what to do about it now, because an old gnome in a cottage gave me a piece of gold for her and kept her. He pushed me out of the cottage, and I had to leave Cathy behind." "He had no right to do that," said the old woman. "I know him. Mean old thing he is, too. Now, let me think a bit. I'm not a witch or anybody very clever, but I've lived among fairy folk all my life and know their ways." She sat down on the low wall outside her tiny house and looked at the biscuits. "So, Cathy turned into a cat because she ate C-A-T, she said. Well, little boy, listen. Suppose you creep back to the cottage and give the cat 2 more letters, H and Y, to finish her name. Perhaps she will change back to Cathy then. Huh, what a shock for the gnome." "Oh, that's a good idea," said John, pleased. "I didn't think of that." I'll go back to the cottage at once and see if I can give Cathy the other 2 biscuits to finish her name. So, off he went back to the gnome's cottage. The window was now the smallest bit open at the bottom. John peeped in. The gnome was drying his hands on a towel at the other end of the kitchen. Cathy was lying down on a mat, mewing. "Cathy," whispered John, "eat these 2 biscuits quickly. The H first and then the Y. Hurry!" The big golden cat ran up to the window. John dropped 2 letter biscuits inside, an H and a Y. Cathy pounced on them and chewed them up. And no sooner had she eaten them than she shut up into a little girl again. There she was, the same golden-haired, blue-eyed Cathy, so pleased to be herself again. The gnome turned round and saw her. He was surprised. "What are you doing here in my cottage?" he cried. "Go out at once." That was just what Cathy was longing to do. She ran to the door, unlocked it, and raced down the path to John. How glad she was to be with him again. "Quick, let's get home," she said. They ran quickly through the wood, found the right path, and raced home at top speed. "Mother! Mother!" cried John. "Where are you? We've had such an adventure. Cathy got turned into a cat. She ate some magic biscuits." They told Mother all about it, and Mother was most astonished. "Let me see these magic biscuits," she said. "This is a wonderful story." But John hadn't got them. He had left them behind in the wood. Wasn't it a pity? And when he went to find them the next day, they had gone. "I expect the right owner found them," he said to Cathy. "I wonder if he'll notice that 5 of the biscuits are gone." "Oh, I shan't do a thing like that again," said Cathy. "It was horrid being a cat. But it was nice having a tail to wave about, John." "I don't want you to be a cat again," said John. "I don't expect Cathy ever will be. Do you?"